The shimmering blue portal opened above Earth's atmosphere, disgorging 3 sleek vessels unlike anything humans had built. Global defense systems went on high alert as the alien ships maintained orbit, broadcasting the same message in all Earth languages: greetings. We represent the Galactic Council. Your world has been discovered. Within hours, nations scrambled to assemble a unified response team. Professor Nam, Earth's leading xenolinguist, joined Military Commander Bay and Diplomat Yoon as they boarded the shuttle bound for the Council's diplomatic vessel. Remember, Yoon whispered as the airlock cycled, we represent all humanity now. The alien delegation awaited them, a collection of beings diverse beyond imagination. Tall, crystalline figures stood beside tentacle entities floating in special atmosphere tanks. At their center waited a humanoid figure with iridescent skin who introduced himself as High Counselor Thraz. We welcome Earth to the interstellar community, Thraz announced, his universal translator converting his musical language to crisp English. Your species has developed remarkably quickly. Most take twice as long to achieve rudimentary space travel. Commander Bay noticed the subtle condescension but maintained her composure. We're honored to meet other intelligent life. The Council representatives led the humans through their ship, revealing technologies that seemed magical: artificial gravity generators, faster-than-light communication arrays, matter replicators. Professor Nam recorded everything discreetly while Yoon engaged in diplomatic pleasantries. The Council oversees 317 member species, explained Thraz. New members begin as observers, naturally. Your voice will be heard, though voting privileges come with time and contribution. How long before full membership? Asked Yoon. The average is 75 standard cycles. Some achieve it in 50. Yoon maintained her diplomatic smile. We look forward to the opportunity. After the formal tour, the Earth delegation was invited to a reception where various council representatives approached them with curiosity and, occasionally, poorly disguised superiority. Your propulsion systems use chemical combustion? Asked a 4-armed engineer from the Tellurian collective. How quaint. We abandoned that technology 8,000 years ago. Professor Nam skillfully redirected these conversations, asking questions that revealed far more information than the aliens intended to share. By the end of the reception, she had compiled significant intelligence on council technology, political structure, and current interstellar relations. The humans were permitted a brief private conference in their assigned quarters. They're underestimating us, Commander Bay observed, scanning for surveillance devices with equipment that appeared to be a simple wristwatch. Good, replied Yoon. Underestimated parties have tactical advantages. Professor Nam analyzed her data tablet. There's something they're not telling us. Multiple representatives mentioned a Zeridian situation but changed subjects when I inquired. I noticed military vessels in their fleet, added Bay. Advanced weaponry. They're preparing for conflict. 3 days later, Earth was officially invited to join the Galactic Council as a junior observer. The ceremony took place in the Grand Council Chamber, a vast amphitheater where representatives from hundreds of worlds conducted the business of governing known space. As Yoon signed the admission protocols, a commotion erupted across the chamber. A reptilian delegate rushed to Thraz, displaying a holographic message. Another outpost lost, Thraz announced grimly. The Zeridians have destroyed outpost Kappa 12. The chamber erupted in panicked discussions. Commander Bay caught fragments of conversations about aggressive expansion, military buildup, and defense failures. When the humans returned to Earth, they brought not only official membership in the Galactic Council but also knowledge of a looming threat. President Choi reviewed their reports in the underground facility beneath Seoul, where Earth had been developing its secret defense program for decades, long before first contact. The Council believes we're primitive newcomers, she noted. A misconception we should encourage, replied Director Kong from Defense Intelligence. Meanwhile, we accelerate Project Phantom. On a secure screen, they reviewed progress on humanity's hidden fleet, ships built with technology Earth had developed independently, following different principles than the Council races. The centerpiece was nearly complete, the HSS Nemesis, a warship with capabilities no Council species would believe possible from primitive humans. The Zeridians threaten the Council now, President Choi observed. Soon they'll threaten Earth. When that happens, Commander Bay replied, the galaxy will learn that humanity has never been as helpless as we appear. In the council chamber light years away, Earth's new diplomatic office was assigned a tiny space befitting a newcomer species of little consequence. Ambassador Park accepted it with humble gratitude, never revealing that beneath her simple attire, she wore a quantum communicator linked directly to Earth's hidden military command. The galaxy's oldest civilizations had no idea what humanity had been preparing. 4.6 months after Earth joined the Galactic Council, Ambassador Park stood at her office window overlooking the massive space station that served as the Council's headquarters. Ships from hundreds of worlds moved through the docking areas. Despite the peaceful appearance, tension filled the station. Another alert flashed across her screen, the third this week. The Zeridian Empire had attacked another Council outpost, this one barely 30 light-years from human space. The Zeridians were advancing steadily toward Council core worlds, and the Council's military response remained ineffective. Ambassador, the emergency session begins in 10 minutes, her aide Jean announced. Park nodded and straightened her simple gray uniform. Earth maintained its appearance of technological modesty, despite what was happening in secret back home. The council chamber buzzed with worried conversations when Park arrived. Representatives from nearly 200 species filled the tiered seating. Commander Bay, now Earth's military attaché, joined Park at the small desk assigned to junior members. High Counselor Thraz called for order. The situation grows worse. The Zeridian fleet has destroyed our defensive position at Proxima Station. Our analysts project they will reach Binari in 2 weeks, and possibly Council space within a month. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Where are the vaunted warships of the Polarian fleet? Demanded a representative from a world already accepting refugees. General Grax of the Polarians stood, his scaled skin flushing dark purple with anger or embarrassment. Our ships engaged the enemy as promised. The Zeridian weapons, they have technology we haven't encountered before. We lost 17 vessels. As the council members argued among themselves, Commander Bay leaned toward Park. They're losing this war because they don't adapt quickly enough. And because they don't share information effectively, Park whispered back. Each species keeps their military advances secret from the others. When the shouting reached its peak, Thraz noticed Park sitting quietly. Perhaps our newest members have insights to offer? Earth has survived many wars in its history, though on a more primitive scale. The chamber quieted as all eyes turned to the humans. Park stood and bowed respectfully. Earth offers whatever assistance we can provide. While our technology may not match yours, sometimes fresh perspectives have value. General Grax made a dismissive gesture. With respect, Ambassador, what could Earth contribute? Your fastest ships would take years to reach the conflict zone. Your weapons use projectiles and chemical explosives. Park smiled politely. Perhaps we could review the Zeridian attack patterns? Sometimes strategy matters more than technology. A generous offer, Thraz said, but this is a matter for experienced council military forces. The humans were effectively dismissed from the conversation. As the meeting concluded, Bay and Park returned to their office. They still think we're children playing with toys, Bay said once they were alone, activating the quantum privacy field disguised as a simple air purifier. Park nodded and activated her secure communicator. President Choi's face appeared on the screen. The situation accelerates, Madam President, Park reported. The council forces are failing faster than expected. Choi nodded gravely. And our status remains secure? They suspect nothing. Their scans don't detect our quantum communications, and they believe our ships use only basic ion drives. Good. Director Kong will update you on Project Phantom. The screen shifted to show Director Kong standing in a massive underground facility. Behind her floated the HSS Nemesis in its construction dock, a sleek black vessel unlike the bulky ships favored by council races. Final systems checks are complete, Kong reported. The Nemesis can deploy within 48 hours. The stealth system works perfectly, we tested it by positioning a drone 5 kilometers from a council science vessel. They detected nothing. Commander Bay studied the technical readouts. And the weapon systems? Beyond expectations. The gravity lance can disable a vessel the size of a council cruiser with one focused burst. President Choi returned to the screen. We've maintained our secret defenses for 100 years, preparing for a threat from the stars. Now that threat has arrived, but not aimed directly at us yet. The Zeridians will reach Earth eventually, Park said. The Council cannot stop them. Then we must be ready to reveal ourselves when the moment comes, Choi decided. But not before it's necessary. Let the Council exhaust their options first. Later that evening, Park watched Council news feeds reporting another devastating defeat. A Zeridian battle group had destroyed 2 more outposts. Refugees streamed toward the core worlds. In her private quarters, she studied the classified reports from Earth. 16 stealth satellites now orbited strategic points throughout Council space, gathering intelligence. 3 more Nemesis-class ships were under construction. Earth's hidden fleet grew stronger while the Council's forces weakened. They think us weak, she whispered to herself, watching the stars through her window. They'll learn differently soon enough. The emergency alarms blared throughout the Galactic Council station. Red lights flashed in every corridor as beings from hundreds of worlds rushed to safety zones. Ambassador Park and Commander Bay walked calmly against the tide of panicked aliens, heading directly for the Council chamber. They've breached the outer defense line, Bay noted, checking her simple wristband that secretly contained Earth's most advanced quantum computer. 17 Council warships destroyed. The Zeridians will reach this station within 6 hours. Park nodded. Then it's time. The Council chamber, normally organized and dignified, had transformed into a scene of chaos. Species that had maintained cold diplomatic relations for centuries now huddled together in fear. The massive viewscreen showed the approaching Zeridian fleet, hundreds of angular black ships moving in perfect formation. High Counselor Thraz stood at the central podium, trying to maintain order. His normally iridescent skin had dulled to a sickly gray. The evacuation must proceed by section, he announced. Essential personnel and council members will. There will be no evacuation, interrupted General Grax. The Polarian scales were nearly white with stress. Our last defensive fleet has fallen. Nothing stands between us and the Zeridian armada. Silence fell across the chamber as the magnitude of the situation sank in. Centuries of Galactic Council dominance were about to end. Perhaps, said Ambassador Park, her voice carrying clearly despite its softness, this would be a good time to accept Earth's offer of assistance. Dozens of eyes turned toward her, some compound, some with multiple pupils, some glowing with bioluminescence. All registered the same emotion, confusion. Ambassador, Thraz said with forced patience, we appreciate Earth's support, but this is not the time for. Actually, Commander Bay interrupted, stepping forward, this is exactly the time. With your permission, High Counselor, we would like to deploy our defense vessel. General Grax made a sound between a laugh and a cough. Your defense vessel? What could Earth possibly have constructed that would make any difference now? Park smiled politely. The HSS Nemesis. Currently holding position 3 light minutes from this station, awaiting your authorization to engage. The chamber erupted in disbelieving voices. Thraz raised all 4 hands for silence. Ambassador, our sensors detect no such vessel in this system. That's one of its primary features, Bay explained. She tapped her wristband, and suddenly a holographic image appeared above the council floor, a sleek, black warship unlike any council design. Where council vessels were bulky and bright, bristling with obvious weapons, the Nemesis was elegant, streamlined, and dark as space itself. Impossible, breathed a Tellurian engineer. Our scans would have detected. Your scans detect what they're designed to detect, Park said. Human technology followed a different development path than Council standard. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. How long? Asked Thraz quietly. How long has Earth possessed this technology? We never claimed we didn't have it, Park answered carefully. You simply assumed we didn't, and we chose not to correct the misconception. On the main view screen, the Zeridian fleet advanced inexorably toward the station. Council members looked between the approaching doom and the mysterious human ship schematic floating before them. "High Counselor," they said formally, "we request permission to defend this station and the Council worlds." Thraz hesitated only briefly. "Permission granted." Bay touched her wristband again. "Captain Moon, you are authorized to engage." The main viewscreen suddenly split to show a new image. The bridge of a starship where a calm-faced human woman sat in the command chair. "Acknowledged, Commander," Captain Moon replied. "Nemesis disengaging stealth protocols and moving to intercept." On the tactical display, a new signal appeared, seemingly materializing from empty space. The Council representatives watched in stunned silence as the human vessel accelerated toward the Zeridian fleet at speeds their own ships couldn't achieve. "That's not possible," whispered General Grax. "No drive system can accelerate that quickly." "Gravity manipulation technology," they explained. "We've been using it for 50 years. The chamber watched in collective shock as the Nemesis approached the enemy fleet. The Zeridian vessels, clearly detecting the newcomer, adjusted their formation to focus on this unexpected threat. "They're targeting your ship with enough firepower to destroy a small moon," warned a Council tactical officer. Captain Moon's expression didn't change. "Understood. Deploying countermeasures. Weapons systems active." The front section of the Nemesis suddenly opened like a blooming flower, revealing a pulsing blue core. "What is that?" demanded Thraz. Ambassador Park allowed herself a small smile. "That, High Counselor, is humanity's answer to the question of whether we're truly as primitive as you believed." Captain Moon stood on the bridge of the HSS Nemesis, her hands clasped behind her back as she studied the tactical display. The Zeridian fleet spread before them, 143 warships arranged in their famous spear formation, with the massive flagship at the center. "They're hailing us," reported Communications Officer Shin. "Audio only." "Let's hear it," Moon ordered. A harsh, mechanical voice filled the bridge. "Unknown vessel. You have entered a combat zone. Retreat immediately or be destroyed." Moon nodded to Shin, who cut the transmission. "No response necessary. Tactical analysis of their weapons systems?" Lieutenant Huang's fingers danced across his console. "Their primary weapons are focused plasma beams, similar to Council technology but with triple the energy output. Detecting unusual radiation from their flagship, possibly their famed planet killer weapon. Shields at maximum," Moon ordered. "Prepare gravity lances and quantum torpedoes." On the Council station light years away, representatives from hundreds of worlds watched the confrontation through the Nemesis's transmitted feed. The silence in the chamber was absolute. "One ship against an armada," whispered General Grax. "Even with advanced technology, it's suicide." Commander Bay's expression remained neutral. "You haven't seen what the Nemesis can do." The tactical display showed the first wave of Zeridian cruisers breaking formation, moving to surround the human vessel. Bright energy signatures flared as they charged weapons. "They're targeting our propulsion systems," reported Lieutenant Huang. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. Brilliant beams of energy lashed out from the alien vessels, converging on the Nemesis. The Council chamber collectively held its breath. The beam struck the human ship and seemed to slide around it, distorting as if hitting a bubble of bent space. "Quantum shields holding at 97%, reported Officer Ju calmly. "Minimal energy bleed-through." "Return fire," Captain Moon ordered. "Target their lead vessel's weapon systems only." From recessed ports along the Nemesis's hull, pulses of blue-white energy emerged, not as beams but as compressed spheres that accelerated toward the Zeridian ships. When they struck, they didn't explode. Instead, the alien vessels suddenly lurched sideways, their hulls visibly distorting. "What are we seeing?" demanded Counselor Thraz, watching from the station. "Targeted gravity manipulation," Commander Bay explained. "The lances create localized gravity wells 15,000 times Earth standard. Enough to warp hull structures without destroying the ships. On screen, 3 Ziridian cruisers spun helplessly, their weapons systems crushed by invisible forces. The Ziridian fleet responded immediately, altering tactics. Dozens of smaller attack craft launched from carrier vessels, swarming toward the Nemesis in patterns designed to overwhelm defensive systems. "Deploy micro-drones," Moon ordered. Ports along the Nemesis's hull opened, releasing thousands of devices no larger than a human hand. They shot toward the incoming attackers, each trailing a faint blue light. "What are those?" asked a fascinated council engineer. "Autonomous defense units," they said. "Each contains a miniaturized version of our gravity technology." The council representatives watched in amazement as the tiny human devices intercepted the Ziridian fighters. Where they connected, the alien ships simply stopped, their propulsion systems instantly neutralized. Within minutes, hundreds of Ziridian craft hung motionless in space. The Ziridian flagship moved forward, its massive form dwarfing even the impressive Nemesis. A warning flashed across tactical displays. "Energy spike," called Lieutenant Huang. "They're charging their main weapon." A blinding beam of crimson energy shot from the Ziridian flagship, striking the Nemesis directly. The human vessel shuddered visibly. "Shields at 60%, reported Officer Ju. Unable to fully compensate for that weapon type." In the council chamber, Ambassador Park exchanged a glance with Commander Bay. "Time for Phase 2? Bay nodded and activated her communicator. "Captain Moon, you are authorized for Phase 2 operations." On the Nemesis's bridge, Captain Moon acknowledged the order. "Understood. Navigator Min, plot intercept course with the Ziridian flagship. All power to forward shields and the primary system." The Nemesis suddenly accelerated to incredible speed, heading directly toward the massive alien flagship. The remaining Ziridian vessels fired desperately, trying to protect their command ship, but the human vessel moved too quickly, its trajectory unpredictable. "They're attempting a suicide run," gasped General Grax. "Watch," said Bay simply. As the Nemesis approached the Ziridian flagship, the front section of the human vessel opened again, revealing the pulsing blue core seen earlier. But now the energy built visibly, condensing into a swirling vortex. "What is that weapon?" demanded Thraz. "Not a weapon," Park replied quietly. "A key." The Nemesis released the swirling energy directly at the Ziridian flagship. When it struck, it didn't explode or destroy. Instead, a sphere of distorted space enveloped the massive alien vessel. Within seconds, the flagship was completely encased in a shimmering bubble. "Quantum lock established," reported Lieutenant Huang. "The flagship is isolated in its own pocket of spacetime." In the council chamber, hundreds of representatives stared in disbelief at what they were witnessing, technology they had believed impossible for centuries to come. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Council gathered for a special session. The Grand Chamber had been repaired from the damage sustained during the Ziridian attack. Representatives from all member worlds filled every seat, with hundreds more watching remotely. At the center of attention stood Ambassador Park and Captain Moon, who had returned from the Nemesis for this historic meeting. High Counselor Thraz approached the podium, his skin now returned to its normal iridescent glow. "For the first time in Council history, we award the Star of Galactic Protection to a first-year member world." He lifted a crystalline medallion that caught the light and broke it into 1,000 colors. "Earth has saved not just this station but perhaps the entire Council from destruction." Captain Moon accepted the medal with a respectful bow. The chamber filled with applause, tentacles tapping, wings fluttering, and hands clapping in a symphony of alien appreciation. General Grax approached next, his scaled face showing a new emotion, respect. "I owe you an apology, Captain," he said. "I dismissed your species as primitive. I was wrong." "No apology needed, General," Moon replied. "Misconceptions can be useful." As the ceremony proceeded, Ambassador Park was invited to address the council. She stood at the central podium, looking across the faces of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. "Earth thanks you for this honor," she began. "Now that the emergency has passed, we feel it is time for complete transparency. She activated a small device, and holographic images appeared throughout the chamber, dozens of ships similar to the Nemesis, some smaller, some significantly larger. Earth's defense fleet, she explained. Currently deployed throughout human space. Murmurs of shock rippled through the audience. You had an entire fleet hidden? Asked Thraz incredulously. How many vessels? 73 combat-ready ships, Park answered. Plus defense platforms, orbital weapons systems, and planetary shields. The council chamber erupted in astonished conversations. Thraz called for order. How did you develop such technology without the council detecting it? Demanded a Tellurian scientist. Our survey teams found no evidence. Because you looked for what you expected to find, explained Commander Bay. Your scanners search for energy signatures like your own technology produces. Our systems operate on different principles. The truth emerged piece by piece. Earth had been preparing for extraterrestrial contact, whether peaceful or hostile, for over a century. When Council scouts first detected Earthships near Mars, humans had already built a hidden defense network extending beyond Pluto. Why hide your capabilities? Asked Counselor Thraz. You could have joined as a full member immediately. We needed to understand the true nature of the Council first, Park explained honestly. History taught us to be cautious. We wanted to know if the Council treated all members fairly, regardless of their apparent power. Director Kong, newly arrived from Earth, joined the presentation. She activated another hologram showing a network of quantum communication relays that had remained invisible to Council detection. Our observation program confirmed what we hoped, Kong said. Despite some condescension, the Council genuinely seeks peaceful cooperation among species. The Zeridian threat simply gave us reason to reveal ourselves sooner than planned. That evening, a reception was held in the Grand Observation Dome. Council representatives mingled with the expanded human delegation, eager to learn more about Earth's technological path. Captain Moon found herself surrounded by military officers from a dozen worlds, all asking about the Nemesis's capabilities. The quantum lock that contained the Zeridian flagship, asked General Grax, how long will it hold? Indefinitely, Moon replied. Though we've offered to release the crew if they agree to peace negotiations. Across the room, Ambassador Park and President Choi, who had arrived from Earth that morning, met with High Counselor Thraz. The Council has voted unanimously, Thraz informed them. Earth is granted immediate full membership status, with all rights and responsibilities. President Choi accepted with a bow. We're honored. And we're prepared to share defensive technologies with Council worlds. In exchange for? Thraz asked cautiously. Knowledge, Choi said simply. Earth developed powerful weapons and defenses, but we've much to learn about medicine, environmental science, and peaceful applications of technology. The final formalities took place the next day. Earth's small office was replaced with a full embassy suite. 3 humans were appointed to key council committees, Captain Moon to Defense, Director Kong to Technology Development, and Dr. Huang to Scientific Exchange. As Ambassador Park stood on the observation deck that evening, watching ships from hundreds of worlds moving peacefully through space, Commander Bay joined her. They respect us now, Bay observed. Respect is good, Park replied. But understanding is better. They're beginning to understand that strength doesn't have to be displayed to exist. Below them on a lower deck, a group of young officers, human and alien together, were examining technical readouts of the Nemesis's systems. Ideas and questions flowed freely between species that, just days earlier, had regarded each other with suspicion or condescension. Perhaps this is what we were preparing for all along, Park said quietly. Not just to defend ourselves, but to earn our place, to contribute something valuable to the galaxy. And to learn, added Bay, watching a human engineer excitedly discussing propulsion theory with a 6-limbed Tellurian. This is just the beginning. In Earth orbit, 3 more Nemesis-class vessels decloaked as a gesture of trust, revealing themselves to Council sensors for the first time. The age of secrets was ending. The age of cooperation had begun.